Knock knock!
Who's there?
Leaving! Leave the EU, yes, but at least we're all on message. That's a brilliant start. So, I'm Nikki Sinclaire. I'm a member of the European Parliament, and this was supposed to be a joke, and people have turned up. So now I'm really nervous. So, I'm going to talk about the EU. So, I think EU rules should apply to this show. I really do think they do. So, everything in the EU is a bit of kind of a roundabout, you know, back to front and so forth. So, I think we'll start with the end. So, a huge round of applause, please. That wasn't up to EU standards. EU Standard Directive 2475472-1-2. So we need to do it again. Press release. Nikki Sinclaire MEP finished with 2 great big rounds of applause. So anyway, yeah, so as I said, I'm at the Edinburgh Festival and it's wow. I'm hoping you'll have a fantastic time. That you're only here to see the show and not because you're out in the rain, because the rain is terrible, isn't it? So I'm really glad you're here. I was elected in 2004, and sorry, I wasn't. 2009. I've been working with the EU since about 2004. I was elected in 2009. I've been elected now for about 4 years, and it's hard to describe. I don't know if anyone here been to Brussels or Strasbourg. You have, yeah? It's a huge, it's an absolutely huge place. We mainly do our plenary sessions in Strasbourg, and it's actually a vast chamber. So I'm a bit out of my comfort zone here today, because even though it's a vast chamber, it's like 28 countries, 700 and I think it's about 66 MEPs currently, which had a new lot in from Croatia. What we don't, it's huge, but sometimes there's hardly anybody there. So I'm going to be giving a speech in the European Parliament, and I'm literally giving it to about 5 people. So, first part, I'm out of my comfort zone because there's more people than I normally speak to in the European Parliament. 2, in the European Parliament, whenever I get to speak, I only get to speak for 1 minute. And because it's such a vast arena, it's all on microphone. So I'm really passionate. I don't know if any of you check me out, but I'm really passionate Eurosceptic. Yeah, I'm not going to do really politics today, and I'm not going to preach or anything like that, but you know, I'm really passionate Eurosceptic. I think we should have a referendum, leave, or whatever. But so I'm really intense, and they don't like me there. They don't like me because I kind of give it to them. So I'm giving my speeches, and you know, and I'm getting to them. I'm putting up my case, and 20 seconds gone, I'm going like, right, this is it. They're all their faces. They're looking angry. They're looking angry. I'm like, yeah, got them. 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 45, 46, 47, 48. Yeah. Well, I've got to finish. So then I'm speeding up a bit. I put some 48, and then you know. Frustrated. But if you say you love the EU, they'll let you talk for 5-6 minutes. But yeah, very difficult. So that's the perspective. But also, you know, in the day as well, you get it's a clash of cultures. And I remember once being there for a cultural debate. It was on the tourism, transport tourism, and you had these MEPs standing up. And I fair play to them. They were talking about you know, how good their countries were and so forth. And there was this French MEP stood up from Normandy, and he was saying, in Normandy we have the great Camembert cheese. In Normandy we have the great wine. I've temporarily forgotten the wine. We have the great Norman wine. We have the great Norman forests. And in our universities we have the great Norman wisdom. It's true. And of course, the English and the Irish MEPs, all 5 of them that were in there, started to fall about laughing. And he just looked over and he was just like mortified. And it's loads of examples there. And the other thing was on a subcommittee. And we've heard all about the EU, what, banana on the straight, cucumbers banking. But this was about wine guns. Yeah. So what exactly? Yeah, so but they were saying we need to develop a subcommittee to measure the alcohol content in a wine gun. Because, they had to do something, and that's the thing with the European Union. It has to be, that you actually have to do something. Gosh, I'm not used to speaking more than a minute. So, when you get to European Parliament, it's absolutely huge. Yeah, the first thing they ask you for is your bank account. You walk in there and I say, oh, I've just been elected an MEP, bank account details, please. And that kind of sets the thing for your stay there in the Parliament. Some people have been there 20, 30 years, it's absolutely amazing. But there's quite a lot of characters in the European Parliament, as we all know. I think one of the downsides, and I am very Eurosceptic, but we don't know enough about the European Union or the Parliament because we get the caricatures. I'll tell you what, I'll go to some cars and explain to some of the people are. Some of you might know, some of you won't know. So some characters, and there's one I like to call him the only Eurosceptic in the village, Daniel Hannan. He's a Conservative MEP from South East England. He believes he's the only one that's put in the case of Euroscepticism in the country. So that's how I call him. My nickname for him is the only Eurosceptic in the village. And then you have the only gay in the village. It's gay Colin from EastEnders. I'm just pushing to digress from that. I don't know if any of you watch EastEnders. I don't anymore, but I used to. I got fed up with it. Everyone would come into EastEnders, wouldn't they? And their lives would be sorted. They're really cool people, everything's good about them. 3 months down the road, that's it. They've lost their home, they've lost their job, their relationship's gone well, their kids don't want to speak to them. And this EastEnders, but he went out there, he decided to leave. Yeah? So he decided to leave and become an MEP. And he represents, like I do, the West Midlands. So the year that he got elected, what did he do? He bought a house in London for £675,000. He did, seriously. Representing West Midlands, some 110 miles away, and bought a house in Islington. Lots of champagne in Islington. Yeah? And he's retiring next year. But he might go back to his dentist, But he's retiring next year. His house is worth £1.9 million. Not bad, eh? And here is the village idiot. Does anyone know who this is? No, does anyone know who this is? He's been in the news a lot recently. His name's Godfrey Bloom of UKIP. He's the one who thinks women should clean behind the fridges. No? He's a bit sad, isn't he? He also, does anyone know Katie Hopkins here? She's been in the news, she's about names and Chardonnay and all the various type of things. She today called him offensive. For her to call him offensive, she said, he's a bit like a sad old man with dementia. Well, no, he comes at any offensive gospel, he's a sturdy, seedy old man with dementia. So anyway, that's Godfrey Bloom. I've had my run into him. I had a drink with him a few months ago. He was completely blind drunk and could hardly stand, so I had my fun and having a drink with him. So you want to know who this one is? He's the one that Nigel Farage insulted. Do you remember that? The wet tea towel. Yeah, comes from half a country, comes from... What else did he say about the low-grade bank manager? Which I had to do is I thought it was been some bank managers, but... Anyway, he's never gone wrong anyway. He's the president of the European Council. Now, the European Council was a rotation for every country, and they thought they would save money, and they would create a permanent presidency. Yeah, and everyone thought that Tony Blair was going to get this. But no, they decided to give it to Herman von Rompuy, and he earns 3 times more than what Cameron earns. So yes, that's Herman von Rompuy. But by the way, they still have rotating presidency, so we didn't save any money. And there's, oh, this is my favourite. This really is my favourite. Does anyone know who this is? Yes, Baroness Cathy Ashton. She was the leader of the House of Lords that pushed through the Lisbon Treaty, which created her current job, by the way. She has never received a single vote in her life, not one single vote. And now she's in de facto the Foreign Secretary of the European Parliament. And you know, what they wanted to do when they created this, because of course, you know, the European Union, you know, they want to be like, obviously, the United States of America, yeah? And in America, you know, they have the American dream, yeah? It's the dream, you know, you can be rich, you can have a nice house, you can have straight teeth. You know, so the European Union want the EU dream, you know, all one country, you know, all eating cheese and wine and a fantastic restaurant. That's what they want. So what they wanted is people to represent them. Yeah? People to represent them. And that's high grade. So that's the one Blair was talked about. So they've chosen Rompuy and Cathy Ashton, who has a Dalek in her front room. True story. So they wanted someone to stop the traffic in Beijing, they said. I honestly think the proverbial comic, chicken crossing the road, would have more chance of stopping the traffic in China than Cathy Ashton would. And here he is. How can I not mention Mr. Farage? Now, me and Nigel, we've had our ups and downs. For those of you who don't know, I was in UKIP for a very long time, pretty much since it started, worked very hard, and blah, 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 blah. But when I got elected to the European Parliament, found out what's been hidden all the time is that, unfortunately, that UKIP was basically liaising and sitting with, in effect, Nazis. People who didn't think the Holocaust happened, so I'm getting a bit serious for a second, but serious, but didn't think the Holocaust happened, didn't think that they thought Auschwitz was just a cleansing chamber, but some of the people in that group that they liaised with has criminal convictions for setting alight immigrants' belongings and that type of thing. And, you know, and I'm anti-EU, but I'm not anti-foreigner, so I just really couldn't. So me and Nigel had a falling out over that, and I'm no longer UKIP. But when I was in UKIP, now Nigel, he always likes to delegate. He was telling me, oh, I've delegated this to committee to committee. But when I was on those committees, I was a former national executive, former party secretary. He'd phone me up at 11 o'clock at night. Oh, hi Nigel. Hi Nikki. And he'd go, I said, what's the problem, Nigel? And he'd go, well, I don't know. I just don't tell you, I'm going to leave. I just can't take this anymore. I've just had enough of UKIP. I'm just going to walk away. Oh, Nigel, well, you can't do that. Well, I don't care. I'm just going to go. I just had enough. What's the problem, Nigel? Well, it's just this committee tomorrow. I just don't know what to do. And I said, what do you mean? He went, well, if they vote that certain way, I just can't stay in UKIP. And that's what he does. He basically brings up everyone. He's like the Vargo, you know, he's like the Vargo, he whispers everything in it. So he basically then, you know, gets people to the committees to do what he wants. So, you know, but that's just a little background of how Nigel works. But of course, I'm a bit wary about saying Nigel Farage in Scotland. We all know what happened. And I found Scotland to be, you know, I think Eurosceptic, you know, I'm out and proud. We should leave the European Union, I'm out! Leave you out! You know, but obviously, but people don't mind him, but they obviously do mind him. You know, he came up here for a press conference, and the Scots weren't having any in there, were they? What I like about, I love Scotland. I've actually got a Scottish name, Sinclaire. Apparently, the way I spell it, Benini, is aristocratic. Apparently, I've been told. Can't find any Sinclaire MEP tarts in that.
Not seeds clear.
Okay. Maybe that's it. So no, they call it spade what it's spade, and they basically say what it's on the tin. But you know, Nigel, yeah, it didn't really work for me. So anyway, but they had two accusations levelled at our old friend Nigel. One, that he was a ball bag. Nigel's right, you're a ball bag. You're a ball bag, Nigel. And to be honest, I don't know what a ball bag is. But there's something inside of me that just knows that Nigel Farage is a ball bag. The second accusation about Nigel is that he's a racist Nazi. Well, I've got to thank you Scottish people for differentiating that he was a racist Nazi. I didn't realise there were any other type of Nazis. Maybe it's those kind of liberal, sandal-wearing, lentil-eating, tree-hugging, Green Party Lib Dem voters. Maybe that's the type of Nazis. No, but they had to differentiate a bit more. They called him a racist Nazi scum. So, thank you for that. I was educated. I didn't know that, but Nigel Farage, you are a racist Nazi scum. But what really annoys me about Farage, I think, is that he's all very sound and you know, I would love to have these communication skills because he does have good communication skills. You know, the way he speaks, and you know, up front, I do admire him for that, and I wish I had that. But what annoys me about the BBC especially is that when he's ever on Newsnight or whatever, they never really go for him, yeah? Because he's not very well educated. He didn't go to university, he didn't do anything like that. He's not very well educated at all. And whenever you develop an argument against him, he really doesn't know where to come back from. So I would just really like them to really push him on that. Because, you know, he's not very clever. And by the way, you know this whole kind of beer and fat, he does smoke, he smokes like a trooper. But you know the whole beer thing? I never known him to drink beer. He's a wine drinker. It's just, you know, sort of the people, you know, of the people I drink a beer. No, Nigel, you drink it. It was caught in an expose in 2004. €100 bottles of wine drinking. It was in the papers. It's caught. He's always drinking them. Yes. And those rather seedy clubs he goes to with Godfrey Blaine. We know that. We know. But yeah, so he's not very well educated. I think this feels like therapy for me. I think I should be paying you. It's taken me 3 years. I'm like, but yeah, as I say he's only ever read one book in his life, Nigel, and that was George Orwell's Animal Farm. And he thought that was an instruction manual. So yeah. Thank you, Nigel. Anyway, I don't have a gang to go with this, I just thought it was a sweet photo. Isn't it? It's sweet. Anyone got a gang? Anyone got a gang? Just look at Baroness actually, one want to say slightly kind of seriously, but is on the Human Rights Committee, and you know, although as I keep saying I'm Eurosceptic and like to strangle the EU and they go to sleep, blah, 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 blah. One of the things I do stop at, and it's one of my big disagreements with Farage, I do really believe in human, not the Strasbourg human rights, I'm talking about, you know, I've been to Gaza, I've been to Afghanistan, I've been to, you know, Tunisia after the revolution, I've been to Bahrain, visiting prisons, and, you know, it's getting really serious, but one of the things that I'm also involved with is the people trafficking. Yeah, and that's a terrible, because of freedom of movement, it allows criminals. And there's a lot of organised crime in the European Union. You know, and that's not allowed about because it's terrible. But, you know, what difference is there between the EU and organised crime now? I was asked at a conference. So we've got the EU, what's the difference between the EU and organised crime? And the only thing I could realistically think about was, well, one of them's organised. So, to use a football term, I'm Alex Ferguson, and sorry, but you know, there's one Scottish person I don't like, Alex Ferguson. I'm also Bill Canyon, Kenny Douglas, English person. But in football, a football term, it's for MEPs, it's squeaky bum time. Because next year is the European elections. Yeah? And you know this is a gravy. It's getting to the end of the tin. And so we're looking for a new tin, and it's, you know, so it's European elections, you know, and some, you know, some MEPs won't get a new job. It will run out and they will be crying for their gravy. So, and there'll be some British ones as well. Hopefully not me, but I'm sure there will, well, we know there will be, it's just the fact that there will be some British MEPs. And can you imagine what's going to happen probably about this time next year, July time, the elections on the 22nd of May, you still stay as an MEP until July. So kind of July, August time, there'll be at least one MEP going to the job centre, won't there? Can you imagine what that would be like? Can you imagine? Can you just go, hello, I've come to sign on. Right, okay. Well, I've got your paperwork. Name, blah, blah. What was your occupation? MEP. Massively expensive parasite. Member of the European Parliament. Sorry, easy mistake to make. Why did you lose your last job? The electorate, they didn't vote for me. Okay. What could you have done better to keep your job? I don't honestly know. I went to all the lunches. Okay. So, okay, well, we worked out your money. You'll be entitled to £59 a week. That's like a lunch for you, isn't it? Well, starters. Alright, well, I don't think we've got any jobs for someone of your... Oh! 1 second, we've just got one here. Do you, by any chance, have any experience in manila envelopes? No? Oh, no, sorry, no, you wouldn't. This is the production of, not the receiving of. Well, it's time to get so I kind of want to thank you, so much, because it's been good. The EU, it's a laugh. It really is, and as I say, I don't know sometimes whether I sit there where I don't know whether to laugh or cry, but it's different. And the cultures are amazing, and I've met so many people, and this has been scary. Not as scary as going into Afghanistan in pitch black on an assault landing, but almost as scary. And I need help from somebody. Help. Someone needs to tell me my last joke. Sorry, amateur. So look, because one of the things I was going to do, the reason why I did this, actually, was that Eddie Izzard said he was going to run for Mayor of London in 2020. And I think we've already had 2 comedians in the job, with Ken Livingstone and Boris. And what we don't want comedians being politicians. So this is my threat. We don't want politicians being comedians either, because it isn't funny, is it? So anyway, can anyone tell me what my joke was, those of you that were in the audience? Yeah, which one? Oh yes, that was it. Well, I'm looking forward to 2019, because I'll be 50 in 2019. And if I get, because I only want to do 1 more term in the European Parliament. That's what I want to do, 2 maximum. But I can't achieve what I want to achieve in 10 years. There's no point in being there. So I'm going to, whatever happens, I will retire from the European Parliament in 2019, and I will be 50. So the new start may be, well, I can cross off comedian as one of those on the employment. But one of the things, I don't know what I'll do, but but one of the things I'm certain I'm going to enjoy 2019, and I'll leave it to you as Joe 4. Knock knock. Nigel Farage. Rock on 2019. Thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure. Please, don't feel obligated, but there is a bucket there, and it's just to help the heroes. Anything you put in there will go to help the heroes, but please don't feel obligated. But thank you so much for coming. I really wasn't expecting an audience.
Thank you, Nikki.